Hello. Some Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet will have access to at least one ability which makes them completely immune to a certain type. We can combine this with the new Tera mechanic to make better use of some of these abilities. Let's go over some examples. Water Absorb will heal your Pokemon for 25% of its max HP when it's hit by a water type move, and the move will also have no effect. Water type moves are super effective against fire, ground, and rock types, so in theory we could terrestrialize into one of these types and still be immune to water type moves. Paldean Wooper is a poison and ground type which gets water absorb, but maybe we're really scared of a ground or psychic type move because of its poison typing. If we terrestrialize to the ground type instead, we would only be weak to grass and ice type moves, while also empowering our ground type moves. If we had access to, let's say, a fire type move, we could also be covering our remaining weaknesses in this situation. My boy Croagunk was confirmed in a recent trailer, and it gets the ability Dry Skin, which acts a lot like Water Absorb, except it takes additional damage from fire type moves as well at 25% extra damage. You will also lose 1/8 of your HP if it's sunny, but you will also heal for the same amount if it's raining. If we terrestrialize our Croagunk or Toxicroak into the fire type, we can resist fire type moves and then take the additional 25% damage from Dry Skin, bringing the total damage taken from fire moves to 62.5%. We're still weak to ground and rock type moves, but we do have fighting type coverage for rock types and hit ground types for neutral damage, or we can even teach Ice Punch if the TM exists. I'm really happy to see Croagunk in Scarlet and Violet, and I will be trying out some movesets for special and physical, so if you're interested in seeing how that goes down, then look out for those videos coming soon. Sap Zipper boosts the attack stat of a Pokemon by 1 stage when it's hit by a grass type move, and that move will also have no effect. Azumarill, Goodra, Girafarig, Saucebuck, and Gogoat can all have this ability in Scarlet and Violet. Azumarill, it still kinda needs huge power to be relevant because it only has an attack stat of 50. However, Saucebuck and Gogoat can both terrestrialize to the water or ground types and become setup move sweepers that use Horn Leech for their recovery. Saucebuck can even use Wild Charge to take on Corviknight. Goodra is its own beast that you can I just bit my tongue, ow. Goodra is its own beast that you can switch in on a grass move prediction, and we can even EV train it so that our Tera Blast can be a special attack or physical attack based on what we think our team needs the most. Personally, I would terrestrialize to a water or dragon type, or even a normal type with Goodra on an Assault Vest moveset with Draco Meteor, Tera Blast, and 2 physical attacks such as Earthquake and Dragon Tail. Volt Absorb works the same way as Water Absorb? Volt Absorb works the same way as Water Absorb, but for electric type moves. Jolteon has this ability and would love some sort of extra type coverage by terrestrializing. Jolteons used to run Hidden Power Ice on basically every moveset back in the day, so it makes sense to think about running the Ice Tera type. However, you could also pick the Flying Tera type and only be weak to Rock and Ice, and by using Weather Ball on a Sun or Rain team, you can even cover one of your weaknesses depending on which one you choose. Lightning Rod is like the electric type version of Sap Zipper and instead gives a special attack boost after being hit with an electric type move. Raichu and even Light Ball Pikachu can both terrestrialize to the Grass Tera type and Tera Blast against ground types, which would threaten their electric type ground weakness. You can also just go normal Tera and Hyper Beam, but there's like 40 other Pokemon which can do this. Flashfire makes the Pokemon immune to fire type moves. If your Pokemon is hit by a fire type move, then your next fire type move will deal damage as if it has 50% extra attack or special attack, instead of just giving a generic stat boost like Sap Zipper or Lightning Rod. This is specific only to your fire type moves. Arcanine, Flareon, Houndoom, and Colossal can all get Flashfire. Houndoom and Colossal can terrestrialize to grass types and Tera Blast to fight against water and ground types, which would normally threaten their natural typing. Arcanine is already a good Pokemon without terrestrializing, and Intimidate is generally a lot more useful than Flashfire. And finally, we have Levitate, which makes the Pokemon immune to ground type moves and unaffected by any grounded effects such as terrains, spikes, toxic spikes, and sticky web. Bronzong, Rotom, Mismagius, Cryogonal, Electros, and Hydreigon all get Levitate, and that's a lot of Pokemon that all kind of do their own thing, so let's talk about them quickly. I spoke about Bronzong in my normal Tera video, and that was a Trick Room moveset with a normal Tera explosion, so that we can set up the Trick Room on the first turn, and then hit something really hard with explosion on turn 2, and then effectively have a much easier time getting in a Trick Room sweeper rather than doing a hard switch. Rotom forms can all terastallize to boost their original typing and use Tera Blast to have a more consistent move than the Hydro Pump, Leaf Storm, Overheat, Blizzard, or Air Slash, depending on which Rotom form that you've chosen. Rotom can also learn Nasty Plot, so you can combine a Rotom's form move with a Tera Blast from the type of your choice, and then you can combine this together to have a sort of coverage. One example is Rotom Fan with Steel Tera type, and you can use Air Slash against fighting types, which would threaten the fighting weakness that Steel types have, whilst using Levitate to gain an immunity from ground types, which is another Steel type weakness. Might sound confusing, but it does really make sense if you do think about it. Miss Magius also gets Nasty Plot, but it's worth considering for an Assault Vest moveset as well. Although it can be quite vulnerable to physical attacks, it really hates being knocked off, so you could choose a Dark or Steel type Tera to try and give it some sort of resistance to hard-hitting moves. Electros typically uses a special moveset with an Assault Vest, but it also learns Coil, which gives it a +1 attack, defense, and accuracy boost. If we combine this with Drain Punch, if the TM exists, then we can take 2 other physical attacks, or 1 other physical attack, and Tera Blast, and we can have a Coil setup sweeper with a decent recovery move as long as Drain Punch can hit something. We can terastallize to the Steel or Poison type to prevent ourselves from being toxicked, or we can swap to the Fire type if you really don't want to get burns on this Electros. For this reason, I also chose the held item to be a Lumberry, but this could also be Leftovers or a Life Orb, just depending on what you want to throw on there. It's really up to you. Hydreigon is without a doubt going to be the best Levitate Pokemon to terastallize. It's already so strong, so fast, and it has a very obvious 4x weakness to Fairy, so it makes sense to change to a Steel Tera type, for example. Hydreigon's movesets include the use of a Choice Scarf, Choice Specs, Nasty Plot with 3 attacks, Dragon Dance with 3 physical attacks, and Hydreigon's move pool is just full of hard-hitting attacks on the physical and special side. I would most likely choose a Steel, Electric, or Fairy Tera typing, and these are all really strong choices for Hydreigon. And that's all of the interesting Pokemon with a type immunity ability that I wanted to talk about in this video. There were a few other Pokemon such as Luminion, Cryogonal, there's another one that gets Volt Absorbed that I've forgotten all of a sudden, but they just didn't seem interesting enough or worth using your terastallization on. I think that it's more of a multiplier for a Pokemon which is going to do lots of damage or have the chance to sweep, so I only really wanted to talk about those. Anyway, sub to the channel if you want more Gen 9 content, come and say hello to us on Discord. Thanks, I'll see you later.